Hello, my Musties, and welcome to the Musty Creative. And in the latest episode of Star Wars theacolyte titled Choice, we learned a lot. So let's get right into it. So, first of all, the question, what did Soul do? He left us with a cliffhanger at the end of episode 6, and now we know. Oh, nothing. All he did was just kill Mother Anastasia, kill the mother of Osha and May, and help to destroy the Coven of Witches when they didn't do anything wrong. Right? The Jedi here are in the wrong. We finally got the answer. Whether you like it, whether you hate it, I enjoyed learning about the backstory. It was very intriguing. And wow, was Soul super desperate to get involved, to interfere? And he felt this calling to Osha, which I do believe is true. It's true. I do believe it had true intentions. But he did not know when to call it quits and to let it go. Let it go. We should play that clip, right? For real. All right, so let's look at the episode guide here from starwars.com. It says here, in a return to the past events on Brendok, Master Indara, her Padawan Torben, the Wookiee Master Kelnaka, and Jedi Knight Soul are on a mission to locate a Virgins in the Force. They mentioned the Virgins in their little camp thing, so that was kind of cool. And I do want to note here, it's Wookiee Master Kelnaka. So he's a Master Jedi and Master Indara. So there's two Masters here, and to be honest, they both kind of failed here in my opinion. And they both were involved in a cover-up. It was a cover-up the whole time. Soul was just a Jedi Knight, so you can kind of see maybe he's like a young Obi-Wan, not really the Qui-Gon that I was thinking of, but maybe later in years later. But Qui-Gon would have never done this, right? Qui-Gon is a good Jedi, doesn't cover up, it doesn't kill people's mothers. Anyways, and then we have Torben, of course. All right, continuing on. Upon discovering the young twin sisters, Osha and May, and their coven of witches, Soul is compelled to intervene. He not just intervenes, people, he gets too deeply invested. I mean, you could say that Yoda would have counseled him to let go of his attachments to this life. He made Osha a quick attachment. Bro, back up, relax. He, Soul, fears for the safety of the children, especially after the Ascension ceremony leaves May with a mysterious mark on her forehead. Hey, it's just a ritual. It's just a family ritual of Ascension. No need to worry about. I mean, I can kind of see where Soul's coming from, but at the same time, it's dude, you've only been peeping on these people for maybe, let's say, a couple hours, and then you're already making judgments to say they're not right to raise these children, but you're really just interested in them because it could be a Virgin in the Force. That's really what it is. That's really what it got down to. It continues on saying, a shocking discovery about the twins' bloodline spurs a series of events that will change the course of each life on Brendok that night. Convinced that the twins are his ticket home, Torben succumbs to his own anxieties and rushes back to the fortress, putting the witches on the defense. While they scramble to hold their coven together and protect the children. I mean, it really puts the witches here in like the victim, and they technically are. So it's very interesting here, the writing. May sets off the blaze, and a battle breaks out that pits Jedi against Jedi, leaving Torben disfigured. The carnage ends with most of the witches, that's the key word here, most of the witches, including Mother Anastasia, dead, and the Jedi are left with a terrible secret. And that was really sad to see. In the end, Indara was I felt like she was gonna fight Soul right then and there and put him in his place. And Soul did want to he did want to tell the High Council what had happened. And Indara was well, that would mess things up. Why do people say that? Don't tell the child the truth, right? The child can't handle the truth. No, now you hid all this time. You get murdered for it, Indara. You should not have covered it up. Soul shouldn't have gone along with it. Torben shouldn't have gone along with it. Kelnaka is a master. They all failed here, which is kind of sad. But that's the episode, right? We found all the answers to the questions. We had a couple, really had one extra question, but this synopsis here kind of really answers it towards the end, and I'll get to that, right? But in the end, the big reveal is that there was some bad stuff happening. We did only get one perspective, which was Osha perspective in episode 3. We didn't get the other perspective, which was the Jedi's perspective or Soul's perspective on that night, and it was something suspicious in the end. So I'll go into more of those details later, but that was the episode synopsis. So I wanted to talk about 3 great moments from this episode and that I really enjoyed, and I think will add to the lore and the entertainment and the value of the Star Wars universe and the brand of Star Wars. So one, Jedi just being explorers. It was nice that it was to see Jedi in peace times, not worried about a bigger greater conflict out there. There was no Sith running around as far as they knew. They were just really ready to chill, explore planets, document things. I really like that. Peace times in Star Wars. That's nice. So that was my number one great moment, just to see Torben, Konaka, Indara, and Sol just chatting, having their little disagreements, but just having a good time. To be honest, I would like more acting from the Wookiee, and just to see like more of his communication. And I don't know, maybe give him a translator, because there are translator devices. It just would have been nice to really know more what's going on in his head. Anyways, great moment number 2, Torben and Anasea. Anasea pulling Torben into a private conversation while having public conversations with Indara and Sol and just with everybody else in the coven. Like, that is super powerful. Obviously, Anasea, very, very, very powerful. And great moment number 3, Wookiee Jedi fighting. Master Konaka, obviously not in his right mind, being controlled by Mother Coral, but him fighting with a lightsaber, being a bruiser, being devastating, being destructive, like all the things that I've wanted to see, and I think other Star Wars have wanted to see ever since you saw Chewbacca and realized, hey, anyone can be a Jedi. I wanted to see a Wookiee Jedi, and I finally got to see that. So thank you, Star Wars The Acolyte. Thank you. I'm glad to see it. Hope you enjoyed it. It was really awesome, and you can see, wow, like if you let Kelnaka get a chance at you, like that's probably why Quamir had to kill him while he was sleeping. That was kind of a cheap kill. But if he had to face Kelnaka one-on-one and Kelnaka's awake and ready to go, I don't think Quamir beats him. I don't know. I don't think so. He's a master. He's a Wookiee. He has tons of strength. I don't think Quamir beats him, to be honest with you. But that's just me. Anyways, those are my 3 great moments from this episode. So we're getting ready to wrap up the last episode of season 1 of The Acolyte, and I've really enjoyed the season so far. It's pushed the boundaries of Star Wars. It's made some new things. It's, it's caused a little bit of conflict, but it's been a fun ride. So I wanted to grade the episode so far, starting from episode 1, going on to episode 7, and it's just gonna be a little quick grading, so I'm not gonna take a lot of time. So episode 1 is good. So good's like not mid, it's a little bit above. It's not great, but it was good. I thought episode 1 was a good starting point for the show. We got to see the introduction of many cool characters and all new locations as well. Got to see more of Coruscant, got to see more of the Jedi Temple and the Jedi training. I thought that was really great to see. So I'd say 1 was good. Now, episode 2, I honestly thought it was great. It was great to see a master Jedi like Torben use a technique that I've never seen in live action before. So it was really awesome to see more of like the extended universe being inputted into the core or the canon of the franchise. So that was awesome. Also got our introduction to Quamir. Also great to see like the Jedi from different parts of the galaxy working together. That was really awesome. And more Yord and Jeki, and of course, as we all know, they met their fate in episode 5. But episode 3 was good. We got the backstory, we got some more flashbacks. It was good. It wasn't great, but I thought it was a good, solid episode. Episode 4 was amazing, and I'll just tell you this straight out, like episodes 4 and 5 are my best episodes, my favorite episodes of the show so far. And episode 4 was amazing. The introduction of the stranger, right? The warrior that I believe is not a Sith. I still don't believe this is not a Sith, but just his introduction was amazing and just made the episode so great. And honestly, visiting Kofar and that planet was really cool. All right, so episode 5. Episode 5 was excellent, in my opinion. It is the best episode of the season. I enjoyed it. I think everyone around the world watching Star Wars enjoyed it. I think the memes, the exciting clips, the battle, the action, the lightsaber techniques, the use of force powers, the use of just Jedi or force users using hand-to-hand combat, it was amazing. So it is an excellent episode, the best episode, and I don't think anyone can argue that the action in The Acolyte has been some of the best Star Wars live action we've gotten in a long time. Now, episode 6 takes a little bit of a downturn. It's just a good episode. Obviously, you can't have high intense action. I know Star Wars fans be like, we want it all. We want it. We want every single episode to be intense and to be heavy. But this one was still a little bit intense, especially towards the end with that whole mask scene that Osha did at the end by putting on Quamir's mask. That was excellent. But I would say just a good episode. But it was great to see more dark side influence there, more dark side teaching, and more character development for Quamir and for Osha. And then in episode 7, to me, it is the worst episode of the show, only because there wasn't enough intensity, not enough of the live action combat that we learned to love in this show. And we had a lot of repeatable scenes from episode 3, so it didn't seem like it brought too much new. Obviously, like the death of Anastasia by the hands of Soul was new, but it just felt a little bit boring from a pacing standpoint. So I'd say it's a mid for me. An 8, I don't know. I don't know what 8's going to be. I hope it's amazing. I hope it's a banger. I hope we get to really enjoy something and have a great finale for this season. And finally, to wrap up this video, I have a couple questions and then my final thoughts on this episode. So, is May justified is my first question. Now, looking at that scene, I actually rewatched the episode again. May is justified, right? This whole time, I think we all were hating on May and saying, why are you killing Jedi? What's wrong with you? You're just kind of vengeful. You're just angry for no reason. No, she saw Jedi kill her mother and destroy her coven. Now, she had a hand to play in it, but now we know that she was just a child being manipulated by Mother Coral, right? Mother Coral, I'll get to what about her next, but May is definitely justified. And as you can see in the fight, Mother Coral and Torben were about to stand off, and then Mother Anastasia then was about to reach out to May to most likely go and save Osha from the fire, right? She didn't seem like she was going to attack Soul or Torben or anyone else. She was just trying to help. And Soul saw that she was like attaching herself to May, and of course probably got scared because she doesn't know the culture, doesn't know what's going on, doesn't know what Anastasia is going to do. And then that's when he looked at her and pulled out his lightsaber and then struck her down. So it was definitely like all on Soul there. It was no hint of attack or aggression from Anastasia where she was going to attack the Jedi that were there. I didn't see any of that whatsoever. So May is justified, and unfortunately the Jedi in this story were wrong. And that's kind of something that I want to talk about more, because it's something to reckon with, that the Jedi could be wrong. And I think this story is highlighting that. Obviously, like, that's putting it up as its major thing. And it's not a new thing, because obviously Palpatine, if you look at his conversations with Anakin, especially in episode 3, always was hinting at how the Jedi were wrong, how they were misguided, how they were not telling the whole truth of the story, and how they were keeping Anakin away from like growing stronger in the Force, right? So now we're actually getting a story that kind of shows us that the Jedi are wrong and misguided. I am a big fan of the Jedi, and so it has been a little hard sometimes to watch these episodes and to see the Jedi fail, make mistakes, and do things that seem to be un-Jedi-like. But that's part of growing, and that's part of like understanding these stories and listening to them. The next question here is, and I think it's answered by the synopsis that we read from starwars.com. Mother Coral still alive? Yes, I do believe she is still alive, because as I said, most of the witches are dead. We never saw Mother Coral really dead. I think she's alive. Maybe a couple other of the witches are still alive. And it kind of makes sense because May is a child, and so I don't know how she could have got off Brendok and kind of like managed for herself without like having a support system there. So yes, I do believe Mother Coral is still alive, and this episode answers that for us. Not completely, but it gives us the opening, because at the end of 3, we thought all the witches were dead. We thought Mother Coral was dead. We thought Mother Anastasia was dead. Now we know for sure that Mother Anastasia is dead, but that Mother Coral is most likely still alive and out there, maybe pulling the strings, maybe working with Quimir. And that brings me to one good point here, is that why didn't we see more Quimir, or any Quimir, in this episode? A Quimir sighting would have made this episode good. It could have made this episode great. I think you lean in to the action. That's what everyone loves about this show. And so you bring in Quimir, maybe he fights with Indara, maybe he fights against Kanaka, and then you have this massive showdown, and then you can have the event still unfold where Soul strikes down on Anastasia. I still would have liked more action towards the end, more build up for that. And if you have Quimir there, it kind of makes more sense for him to say, like, you don't recognize me, you don't remember me. He was there the whole time, manipulating the strings, working with the coven. That would have been cool to see. But going back to Mother Coral, I wanted to point out one line where Coral says to May, "Good girl, get mad," right? And you can see that May was definitely taught by Anastasia, but also taught and manipulated by Coral. And so it's also interesting that the opposites of Osha and May are also highlighted in the opposites of Anastasia and Coral, right? But they all were like a family, but they all had their, like, with parents, like parents are their favorites, and the parents have like the children that they kind of get along with and relate to a little bit more than the other ones. And you heavily see that here. And obviously, in my opinion, Anastasia is in the right and Coral's in the wrong, and Coral kind of helped to push the conflict into a place where, then Anastasia gets killed. And that may be also why Coral was so angry with Soul. Obviously he wasn't fighting her, but maybe she felt a little hint of guilt that she kind of pushed it to the edge and got Anastasia killed for it. So that's kind of interesting there, right? So the whole relationship between May and Osha and Coral, and then Osha and Anastasia, but then also the relationship between May and Anastasia, and May and Coral, and then Coral and Anastasia's relationship. I said a lot there, but it's kind of interesting because those two pairings have like I don't want to say a light and a dark, but they have like a different, like a night and a day kind of situation going on with them, right? And yeah, it's very interesting, those relationships. In the end, I thought the pacing of this episode was the negative for it. It did feel a little too slow. And then when we got to the big moments, it was nothing too shocking because you kind of ended up thinking someone did something dirty. We didn't know how it happened. So I think there wasn't enough new stuff to get me super excited in this episode, but it was nice to get the answers to the questions that we all had and to find out why Soul felt so guilty all these years. So that was really nice. I'm really, really, really hoping we get a banger of an episode 8 to end off the season so we can kind of go off into the summer with like great Star Wars feels. So anyways, that's what I think about episode 7. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.